Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video for Thursday, July 1st. It is 5:17 p.m. Eastern time, so about an hour and 15 minutes or so after market close here in Jacksonville, Florida. And in today's video, we're going to discuss 3 leading stocks that you really need to pay attention to that are very close to all-time highs. And as a part of that discussion, we're going to discuss the importance of identifying relative strength on days where a certain style or sector is down, but you see one stock or a couple of stocks that are either green or showing a lot of relative strength compared to their peers or stocks in the same style as them. We're going to get into those charts and break all that down here in just a few moments. First, let me go over what just happened. You can see value stocks bounce, growth stocks lag. The indices performance sums it up for you. The S&P up 0.5%. The Qs basically flat. They were the laggard today, although the Qs have been the leader for the last couple of weeks here. Dow up 0.4%, midcaps up 0.8, Russell up 0.8. Market state remains in an uptrend. Even the midcaps got back above their 21 EMA. Some of those indices that weren't looking so great, looking a little bit better now. The Qs continue to look fine, consolidating really right at all-time highs. And the market trend or the Grotection gauge on the right-hand side of your screen stays the same, bullish across the board. We are a little bit extended on the NASDAQ. I'm sure Don will talk about that more in his 21 over 21 video tomorrow. But like I said, all major indices above the 21 EMA, above the 50, and of course, above the 200-day. So before we get to the charts, this is the team at Revere. This is me right here, Hunter Mozingo. If you have any questions, comments about anything I cover in this video, or just any general questions regarding any stock, sector, ETF, anything, please send me an email, hunter@revereasset.com. If you want to know more about our strategy, what it is we do at Revere, send Dan, Tim, or Don an email. You can also email Alex, who's also an analyst. He has tons of great information and research as well. But all of these guys are more than happy to respond and communicate with anybody about what Revere does, or just about the market / stocks in general. So let's get straight into it, folks. And we're going to start with the S&P up about 0.5% or so today, really showing strength as some of the beat up sectors, the value sectors that haven't been so great the last few weeks, showed some strength today. That's your banks, your materials, those types of areas, as well as there's a select few growth stocks that had some good days as well. The Qs, as I mentioned, a bit extended, and I want to point out one thing. You can see we're about 5% above the 50-day, 2.5 above the 21. That is a bit extended for the index itself. But if you look back here at this run from this is going to be 11/9/11/10 of 2020 all the way to this high here in the middle of February. There's a couple of times where the Qs got at 7% above the 50 and harshly pulled back. You can see it happen twice here, this being the second one. So once you get past that 6 to 7% above the 50, it is a caution light, but really healthy action out of the Qs, out of all the indices today, really kind of digesting a strong move, especially for the NASDAQ, as you can see here. The Dow, DIA, like I said, back above the 21 and the 50. Those lines are pretty much on top of each other, almost to a cent, but about 1% above the 21 and the 50 on the Dow after it undercut and really wasn't looking great, along with mid caps here on the 618, 620 range right there in the middle of June. And speaking of mid caps, which I had mentioned had been a laggard, poking its head above the 50 today, back above the 21, actually kind of staying above it. That's really the low of the range today, is right at the 21 EMA 492 area, and then sticking its head above the 50-day moving average as well, right near these highs, as you can see, 495, 497 range as well. And lastly, small caps above all of their moving averages, held the 21 here after a strong move from the middle of May, the middle of June, pretty much to the end of June-ish, and holding the 21, which is exactly what you want to see. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to cover A couple of sectors first that showed some strength today, just to highlight that value stocks bounce scenario that was in the title of what just happened today. So first, XOP, oil and gas, very strong today. You can see up 2.4%. XLE is another oil and gas ETF, up 2%. A lot of oil names having strong days, making new highs. CPE, Callon Petroleum up 3%, Matador, just some examples for you here. So a strong day for oils. Also, you saw XME up about 1%, actually gave some back towards the end of the day, finished up 0.5%. But some of the materials, metals, and mining names showing a little bit of strength today, coming back. But I do want to highlight, I talked about this on Monday, just not really having much luck getting back through some of these declining moving averages. There are some select stocks in these spaces that look better than maybe some of these sector ETFs. And one that actually doesn't look bad whatsoever is ITB, and this is going to be your home builder ETF. It's actually got back above the 21, not quite over the 50, but there's some names in here like Lennar, who just reported earnings, for example, that actually look pretty decent. DHI doesn't look horrible either, not as strong as Lennar, however. So ITB strong, another one of those sectors that was really strong from middle of February into May, that kind of pulled back. As you can see here, this run is what I'm talking about, more or less the start of March through the middle of May. And then it's been correcting, pulling back ever since. And last one for you here, banks having a decent day, up about 1%, but still not back above some of these declining moving averages, particularly the 21. So I want to talk about these leading stocks, and I mentioned three, and these three stocks in particular are all either at or very close to all-time highs, and stocks that showed relative strength today, just in contrast to a lot of other growth stocks. And I'm going to give you some of those comparisons as we run through these here. So the first one, CrowdStrike, basically flat, and on a day where growth was actually struggling, pretty volatile, especially for the first 3 or 4 hours of the morning. I can put this on a 1 minute. Actually, let's do a 5 minute. That'll show you the picture. I mean, you can see this morning was pretty volatile for Crowd. It was down, and then it was green, and then it came back down again, but held up well. And that's what when I talked about the importance of identifying relative strength on days where maybe if you're investing in growth stocks, or if you're investing in value stocks, or if you're strictly just observing and researching, you want to take note of names that are at close or near all-time highs that hold up really well. And oftentimes they hold up better than stocks that aren't at all-time highs. So CrowdStrike breaking the 8-day, but reclaiming it. That's really important. Kind of holding that 250 area, also important. Just something you want to note. And this is one of our biggest positions in the portfolio, in the Grotection portfolio. Another name that's one of our biggest positions in the Grotection portfolio, DocuSign. Only about 3 or 4% from all-time highs. You can't see it, but it's right around 290. It's covered up by this little, these two boxes here showing EPS and other data. But a similar scenario to Crowd, undercut the 8, reclaimed it, only down 0.5% today. Light volume as well, important to note on a lot of these leading growth stocks that pulled back. And last one of the three here, Shop. This one is not owned in Grotection. However, I do have it in my beta test portfolio. Down 0.2% today. You'd like to see it have closed above this 8-day exponential. It's slightly below it, but holding up relatively well. You see it didn't break this low here, and it's only about 3%, 4% from all-time highs. The high right here, 1552, so maybe a little bit closer to 5 or 6%. But three names that are holding up well, leaders, and you see the recurring theme, light volume on these. I'm going to run through a couple more bonus leading stocks that also held up relatively well today or showed strength. Enphase, down 0.25%. One that's extended, bounced off the 8-day exponential to a T, and also down less than the actual solar ETF. You can see the solar ETF down 1.13%, Enphase down 0.28. That's a sign of strength, in my opinion. Apps, Digital Turbine, a name that was green today while it was on light volume, you certainly want to take note of a stock that's up 3% while a lot of other growth names are getting sold off or pulling back. So apps up 3%, holding the 8-day there. And another sector that we actually added a position in, we started a position here on MSOS today as it pushed through this 50-day moving average. You can see it hasn't really been able to get sequential closes above it. That's something we're certainly wanting to see tomorrow. That 50-day is at $40.50, but a strong move with volume here on MSOS. You can't ignore that. And also Grow Generation, one of the leading stocks in the weed space per se, having a nice day today. I believe Don mentioned that they were possibly added to the Russell 2000, which was the explanation for the bounce. I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't been able to completely confirm yet, but we will confirm that on the next video after I can do some more digging on it. And two more names here, AMD, not the most strong day, but what's important is you got an inside day here, finish near the top of the range, relatively tight after a really strong move and some days with nice above average volume here. And NVIDIA also a standout in growth land, up 1% over the 800 level here and making new highs as well. So I want to show you a few growth stocks that did not hold up so well. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them, but just the contrast of some of these that were down either 0.1%, 0.5% compared to some of these other names here. So Roku, which we do own, nothing wrong with it, but down 5% today after an announcement yesterday that Apple purchased one of the buttons on their remote for Apple TV. But you can see that just some sharp pullbacks in some other names here. Roku down 5%. Celsius, this is a energy drink type of company, a healthier version, down 4%, but clinging to the 8-day there, staying above it. Palantir breaking the 21, not what you want to see. That is not the most encouraging action there for Palantir. Certainly one of the weakest today. Utu, another big time growth name. I mean, that's a brutal candle there, down 10%. This is a very volatile stock. But just to highlight that there was some volatility and weakness in growth and some very sharp sell-offs in a lot of these names. So when you have days like that, you want to notice what's holding up, and especially if something's at all-time highs and it's holding up well, that's something you have to take note of. And last couple here, Upwork, by no means having a crazy bad day, but down 2%, but holding the 8-day. This stock is looking really strong. You can see there was some nice volume on this move here, not too far from this 63.88 pivot and previous all-time high. And that's essentially it, guys. I mean, I covered the three main leaders that I wanted to talk about, some bonus leaders as well. A volatile day. I'm sure people got shaken out today in some of these names, but the big time leaders, the NVIDIAs, the DocuSign, the Shopify, the CrowdStrikes, holding up relatively well given the fact that it was a volatile morning. Most of those holding on above the 8-day exponential average, and we'll see if they can continue to stay above that moving average, or if a lot of these names like Upwork, for example, need to come back to the 21 EMA before things can resume higher. So that is going to wrap it up for me. I hope you all have a wonderful long weekend and enjoy the 4th. I will see you not on Monday because it's an observed holiday, but most likely next Thursday for the video, and also the podcast will be coming out this weekend. So I hope you all enjoy that. So thanks, everyone.